We have a lot of things that create wealth, and you're seeing that over the last 2 weeks. I think we've created more wealth. Other people have created de-wealth, the people, my predecessors. We're creating a lot of wealth.
Hi, I'm Maddie, Hale, and welcome to the Trump Report. This week has felt like an eternity in Trumpland as the President of the United States has signed multiple executive orders, thrown several threats of tariffs around, and announced a bold and very much controversial plan for rebuilding Gaza. How does one even keep up with Trump? Every day there's something new, so let's go through the week that was in Trumpland. It started off with tariffs. Over the weekend, Donald Trump had announced that he was hitting Canada and Mexico with 25% tariffs on goods imported into the US. This was because he was sick of the illegal migration and drug smuggling coming from the two countries, so he said enough is enough. He also told China he was placing them with 10% tariffs on Chinese goods because the communist country was also failing to tackle the illegal manufacturing and smuggling of fentanyl from China into the US. All three countries weren't happy with this, especially Mexico and Canada, who are two of the biggest trading partners for the US. It sparked a global conversation over the weaponization of tariffs. Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau hit back at his neighbouring country.
Tonight, I am announcing Canada will be responding to the US trade action with 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods. This will include immediate tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods as of Tuesday, followed by further tariffs on $125 billion worth of American products in 21 days' time to allow Canadian companies and supply chains to seek to find alternatives.
But Donald Trump then decided he would pause the 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico and give them 30 days to figure out a plan. Mexico, for instance, committed to sending 10,000 of its troops to the border to try and tackle human and drug smuggling on their end. While Prime Minister Trudeau also paused his tariffs, Trump still thinks that Canada doesn't treat the US well.
But we have a very good relationship. I also spoke with Prime Minister Trudeau of Canada, and we had a good talk in the morning, but I did ask him a couple of questions, like, banks aren't allowed to do business in Canada. Canada is very tough. Canada is very, we're not treated well by Canada. We have big deficits with Canada, like we do with all countries. I mean, I look at some of the deals made, I say, who the hell made these deals? They're so bad.
While Canada and Mexico were given the 30-day extension, China was not. The CCP, of course, hit back with 15% tariffs on American goods and filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, citing the US was discriminating against the country. Trump this week continued his determination to take back the Panama Canal, believing China has influence over it.
China's involved with the Panama Canal. They won't be for long, and that's the way it has to be. Marco just got back, as you know. He's in the process of coming back. I guess he's almost back by now. And he had a very long conversation with the leader of Panama, the respected man, and some others, the entire leadership group. And we're trying to work a deal on the Panama Canal.
While Donald Trump has been busy taking aim at those trading partners, the UK and the EU don't seem to be protected from his warpath.
So the UK is way out of line, and we'll see the UK, but European Union is really out of line. UK is out of line, but I'm sure I think that one can be worked out. But the European Union it's an atrocity, what they've done.
Further bringing this up in his press conference.
Well, we have massive deficits with the European Union, massive, like $350 billion, if you can believe it. They don't take our farm product. They don't take our cars. They don't take almost anything, but we take their cars. We have millions of cars coming in, BMW and Mercedes-Benz and Volkswagen and just so many different cars, and we don't do anything about that. And we don't charge them tariffs. They make it impossible to sell cars in the European Union.
And Trump had a big win this week when it comes to his cabinet. Controversial picks RFK and Tulsi Gabbard look to be on track to securing their positions. Both RFK and Tulsi used to be Democrats and are now vying for high-level positions in the Trump cabinet as Health Secretary and Director of National Intelligence. They were successful in gaining the votes needed from the Senate committees, while Pam Bondi was officially confirmed as the US Attorney General. Both Gabbard and RFK now need to secure the vote from the US Senate, but it's controlled by Republicans 53 to 47, so it will probably be in their favour. Elon Musk has been full steam ahead in his new role as leading the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE as it's been called. One of the first order of business is shutting down the US Agency for International Development, which is responsible for administering foreign aid and development assistance. Employees of the agency were told this week that the world's largest single donor will eventually be shut down, but for right now, it was scaling back staff from 10,000 to about 300 globally. Musk had said that US aid was beyond repair. He said, with regards to the US aid staff, I went over it with the president in detail and he agreed that we should shut it down. And Trump had said that it's being run by a bunch of radical lunatics and we're getting them out and then we'll make a decision. Elon Musk described dismantling US aid as feeding it into the wood chipper. But controversy has surrounded DOGE over who is working for the department. As it's been reported, he has a young group of 19 to 25-year-old techies in charge of cutting trillions of dollars from the federal government. A New York Times article reads that Musk is surrounded by a crew of young engineers in their early 20s with little, if any, government experience, including a recent high school graduate. One of Elon Musk's biggest critics, Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, didn't hold back on her thoughts this week in a viral moment.
This dude is probably one of the most unintelligent billionaires I have ever met or seen or witnessed. Which, you can probably even glean that from watching these people on TV. Anyways, all of that is to say is that they don't do their homework. Clearly, they're putting 19-year-olds in at the Treasury. This dude is not smart. And the danger in the lack of intelligence and the lack of expertise that Elon has. I mean, this guy is one of the most morally vacant, but also just least knowledgeable about these systems that we really know of.
The desire to cut federal aid continues with Donald Trump's comments about Ukraine this week. While the president hasn't announced a desire to stop sending financial assistance to Ukraine, he said he wants something in return for the United States' help. Trump announced that he wants Ukraine to trade him rare earth materials for military aid.
I want to have security of rare earth. We're putting in hundreds of billions of dollars. They have great rare earth, and I want security of the rare earth. And they're willing to do it.
Well, it is official. After years of backlash and debates, Donald Trump has officially signed an executive order banning transgender athletes from female sports.
Want to do this? Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pens, okay? Are you ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor? You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature because this is a big one, right? Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you, Mr. President.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay? Good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right?
The big story, however, from this week was, of course, Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's meeting. It was the proposal or the commitment Trump made on how to fix the Gaza Strip. The US president, backed by Israel, announced a bold plan to take ownership of Gaza and turn it into the Riviera of the Middle East.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. will own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years.
This plan was seriously criticised by not just the usual suspects, but his own members of the Republican Party who were sceptical about if US troops would have to be sent and stationed in Palestine. Several members of the White House tried to walk back some of Trump's comments by referring to it as just an offer to Gaza or just a proposal. While Trump hasn't committed to sending soldiers there, the proposal from the US would likely need boots on the ground to facilitate it. Republican Senator for Kentucky Rand Paul went against the idea of his boss, saying, "I think it's a really dumb idea to talk about having US troops in Gaza. It's the last place on earth I'd send US troops and I won't support it." Independent Senator Bernie Sanders posted this from his X account.
It is literally impossible to understand what Trump is talking about in terms of Gaza. It is incomprehensible. Here you have a people who in the last 15 months have suffered unbelievably. Over 45,000 people in Gaza have been killed, over 100,000 have been injured, mostly women and children. Virtually all of the housing has been destroyed, the healthcare system, the educational system, all destroyed. And now, in response to all of that, what Donald Trump is saying, hey, we're going to push these 2.2 million people out of Gaza, and we're going to build something really beautiful like the French Riviera, so the billionaires can come and enjoy the beautiful view. It is grotesque.
In his first few days as president, Donald Trump signed an executive order to officially remove the US from the World Health Organization. This has now prompted a follow-on as Argentina President Javier Milei, who is a close ally of Trump's, announced his decision to also withdraw. Argentina contributes around $8 to $9 million to the WHO each year. Milei's spokesperson said, "We Argentines are not going to allow an international organization to intervene in our sovereignty, much less in our health." The White House just isn't slowing down, and this week it's also all about cuts. Take a look at this video of Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt announcing Trump's plan for the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans.
So these are the tax priorities of the Trump administration that the president has laid out for members in that meeting today. No tax on tips, which is obviously a very public campaign promise that the president made. No tax on seniors' Social Security. No tax on overtime pay. Renewing President Trump's 2017 middle-class tax cuts. Again, these are the president's priorities. Adjusting the SALT cap, eliminate all the special tax breaks for billionaire sports team owners, close the carried interest tax deduction loophole, tax cuts for Made in America products. This will be the largest tax cut in history for middle-class working Americans. The president is committed to working with Congress to get this done.
Now that Republicans are back in power, it is no surprise that House committee hearings are also back in full force. This week, the House Oversight Committee held a hearing on a study that White Coat Waste Project had revealed. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace took aim at the Biden administration for allowing $10 million of taxpayer money to be spent on creating transgender animals.
We spent over $2 million studying the fertility of transgender mice. $1.1 million was spent to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapies to mimic transgender men were more likely to overdose on a party drug, commonly used in the LGBTQ community to induce drug-fueled what's called, quote, chemsex. I asked my staff what was chemsex and the chemical, and I guess it's something called GHB, which is a date rape drug, and also a drug that's used recreationally. So we spent over $1 million to find out if female rats receiving testosterone therapy were more likely to overdose on a date rape drug. Like, that's what your taxpayer dollars were being spent on.
As Donald Trump continues to promote his allegiance to Israel, he's gone one step further and announced that he's signed an executive order to sanction the International Criminal Court. The president accused the ICC of illegitimate and baseless actions targeting America and our close ally Israel. This would mean that visas and financial sanctions will be put in place for ICC workers and potentially their families. The ICC condemned the sanctions and stood by its independent and impartial work. The statement read, "The ICC condemns the issuance by the US of an executive order seeking to impose sanctions on its officials and harm its independent and impartial judicial work. The court stands firmly by its personnel and pledges to continue providing justice and hope to millions of innocent victims of atrocities across the world in all situations before it."